I'm not just a trickster. I'm your alien companion forever. The asteroid Cal-9 floated silently in the cold void, a jagged rock orbiting the dim red star that barely lit the blackness. For the humans living there, it was home, or at least as close to home as you could get in a mining colony millions of miles from Earth. The air hummed with the low rumble of drills and the clank of machinery as workers hauled glowing chunks of Ethereum, a mineral so rare it powered half the galaxy's tech. Tom stood at the edge of the main platform, his dusty boots planted firm, his eyes scanning the horizon. At 35, he was the colony's lead engineer, a man with rough hands and a sharper mind, though the years of endless shifts had worn him thin. Still, he loved the quiet out here. No politics, no noise, just the stars and the job. That quiet shattered when a streak of fire tore across the sky. The crew froze, tools clattering to the ground, as a jagged silver ship spiraled out of control and slammed into the asteroid's surface a mile away. Dust billowed into the thin atmosphere, and a shockwave rattled the platform. "What the hell was that?" shouted Leela, the youngest miner, her voice crackling over the comms. Tom didn't answer right away. He squinted through his visor, heart thumping. Crashes weren't unheard of. Space junk hit sometimes. But this was different. That ship looked alive, its hull pulsing faintly with green light. "Gear up," Tom said finally, his tone steady but firm. "We're checking it out." The crew grumbled, some out of fear, others annoyance. But they trusted him. Within minutes, 5 of them piled into a rover. Tom, Leela, big-shouldered Mike, quiet Doc, and jittery Ben. The ride was bumpy, the asteroid's surface a mess of craters and sharp rocks, but Tom kept his eyes on the wreck. Up close, it was even stranger, sleek and curved, like something grown, not built. The green glow flickered, and a faint hum vibrated the ground beneath their feet. Leela reached for her scanner, but Tom waved her off. "Stay sharp. We don't know what's in there." He stepped forward, pry bar in hand, and wedged it into a seam on the ship's side. With a groan, the panel popped open, revealing a dark interior lit by sparking wires. The air smelled sharp, like ozone, and something sweet. Then a sound, a soft, rasping breath. Tom froze as a figure stumbled out of the shadows. It was tall, nearly 7 feet, with skin like liquid silver and eyes that glowed a soft amber. An alien. The crew stumbled back, hands on weapons, but Tom held up a hand. "Wait." The alien swayed, then collapsed, its long fingers clutching a cracked device. Up close, Tom saw it was female, or seemed to be. Her body lean and graceful despite the cuts and burns marking her skin. She rasped something in a language like wind chimes, then tapped the device. A shaky hologram flickered to life. A swarm of dark ships tearing through a planet, fire raining down. Her eyes met Tom's, desperate. "Craven. Coming," she whispered, her voice broken but clear. Mike swore under his breath. "We need to report this. Get the fleet out here." But Tom shook his head, kneeling beside her. "She's hurt, and she's warning us. We don't leave her." Leela frowned. "Tom, this isn't our fight." He looked at her, then back at the alien. "Maybe not yet, but if those ships are coming, we're in it whether we like it or not." The alien's hand brushed his arm, weak but deliberate, and she nodded. "Vera," she said, pointing to herself. "Tom," he replied, tapping his chest. The crew watched in silence as he helped Vera to her feet, her weight heavy against him. The hologram flickered out, but the image of those ships lingered in everyone's mind. "Back at the rover," Ben muttered. "What are we even doing, man? She's not human." Tom didn't answer right away. He looked at Vera, then at the stars above, where danger might already be closing in. "We're figuring it out," he said finally. "That's what we do." As they drove back to the colony, the green glow of Vera's ship faded behind them, but a spark had ignited in Tom's chest. Curiosity, defiance, something human. Whatever came next, he'd face it head-on. The others didn't know it yet, but this was just the beginning. The mining colony's workshop buzzed with activity as Tom and his crew hauled Vera's wrecked ship inside. The silver hull gleamed under the harsh lights, its curves dented but still alive with that faint green pulse. Vera leaned against a crate, her amber eyes watching the humans with a mix of exhaustion and wonder. She was taller than any of them, her silver skin catching the light like a mirror, but her strength was fading fast. Doc, the colony's medic, patched her wounds with a handheld med unit, muttering about how her biology was close enough to human for it to work. Tom didn't care about the details. He just needed her alive and talking. "Tell us about these Craven," Tom said, wiping grease from his hands. He stood over a workbench, tools scattered around him, the ship's open panel revealing a tangle of wires and glowing crystals. Vera's voice was soft but steady as she explained. Her people, the Lyrans, had once thrived on a lush world far beyond Cal-9. Then the Craven came. Biomechanical monsters, half machine, half beast, obsessed with consuming resources and wiping out anything in their path. They'd torn through her planet, leaving nothing but ash. Vera had escaped in this ship, a scout vessel, but it wasn't built for war. "They track energy," she said, tapping the crack device from before. "They'll find me. And you." Leela crossed her arms, frowning. "So we're targets now because we helped you." Vera nodded, her expression grim. "I'm sorry." Mike slammed a wrench down, his deep voice booming. "Great, just great. We're miners, not soldiers." But Tom didn't flinch. He stared at the ship's guts, gears turning in his head. "We don't have to be soldiers," he said. "We just have to be smarter." He pointed at the crystals. "This tech, it's beyond ours. Can we use it?" Vera hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, but it's damaged. Incomplete." That was all Tom needed to hear. He rallied the crew, pulling them into a plan. The ship's core still hummed with power, and its engines could theoretically fly again, if they could fix it. Vera knew the Lyran systems, but she was no engineer. That's where the humans came in. Tom and Ben tore into the wiring, jury-rigging connections with mining tools and spare parts from the colony's stash. Layla tinkered with the crystals, figuring out how they amplified energy, while Mike hauled heavy panels into place. It was messy, chaotic, and nothing like the sleek precision of Lyran design, but it was human, and it worked. Hours passed in a blur. Vera watched, amazed, as the humans argued, laughed, and improvised. "You're kind. You don't give up," she said to Tom as he soldered a circuit. He grinned, sweat beading on his forehead. "Nope. We're stubborn like that." She tilted her head, curious. "Why?" "You could run. Hide." Tom paused, then shrugged. "Because running's not living. And if these Craven are as bad as you say, they won't stop with you. They'll come for us eventually." Vera's eyes softened, a flicker of something like hope crossing her face. By dawn, or what passed for dawn on Cal-9, the ship hummed louder, its green glow steadying. Vera climbed inside, testing the controls. "It's not perfect," she said, "but it flies." Tom nodded, satisfied. "Good. Now, what else can it do? Weapons? Shields?" Vera hesitated again. "The Craven will come with many ships. This one, it's fast, but weak." That's when Leela piped up, holding a glowing crystal. "What if we boost it? We've got Ethereum. Tons of it. Could that supercharge your systems?" Vera's eyes widened. "Maybe. But it's risky. Unstable." Tom didn't blink. "Risks our specialty. Let's try it." They rigged a makeshift power cell, fusing Ethereum into the ship's core. The hum turned into a roar, lights flaring bright enough to make them shield their eyes. Vera laughed, a sharp, surprised sound. "You're mad. All of you." Mike chuckled. "Welcome to the club." But the moment of triumph didn't last. A deep rumble shook the colony, and red alerts flashed across every screen. Ben bolted to the sensor station, his face paling. Ships, lots of them, closing fast. Tom's stomach dropped, but he didn't freeze. He turned to Vera. "How long do we have?" She checked her device, her voice tight. "Minutes." The Craven moved like a storm. Outside, the crew scrambled to defensive positions, dragging mining lasers and old pulse guns from storage. They weren't much, but it was something. Tom grabbed Vira's arm, pulling her toward the ship. "We're not done yet. You fly. We fight. Together." She stared at him, then nodded, a spark of determination matching his own. As the first dark shapes of Craven ships pierced the starry void, the colony braced itself. The humans had no fleet, no army, just a ragtag crew, a half-fixed alien ship, and a crazy idea. But that's how humans had always survived, not with strength, but with grit and a refusal to quit. Tom climbed onto the platform, shouting orders, while Vera powered up her vessel. The enemy was coming, but they weren't facing miners anymore. They were facing allies, forged in the void. The Craven ships descended on Cal 9 like a swarm of locusts, their dark, jagged hulls glinting with an oily sheen under the dying star's light. They were massive biomechanical monstrosities, part machine, part living nightmare, bristling with tendrils and glowing red eyes that pulsed with menace. The asteroid shook as their first volley of energy blasts tore into the surface, sending plumes of dust and rock skyward. Inside the colony, alarms blared, and the crew scrambled to their stations. Tom stood on the platform, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Hold the line. We've got one shot at this." Vira's ship roared to life beside him, its green glow now laced with the wild flicker of Ethereum power. She piloted it with a grace that belied its patched-together state, weaving through the sky as crimson beams lanced past her. Tom had split the crew into two teams. Mike and Ben manned the mining lasers, retrofitted to fire concentrated bursts, while Leela and Doc rigged a shield generator from spare Ethereum and the colony's power grid. It wasn't elegant, but it was all they had. "Focus fire on the big ones," Tom shouted, pointing at the lead Craven ship, a hulking beast twice the size of the others. Mike grunted as he swung a laser into position, its beam slicing through the void. The shot hit, carving a gash in the enemy hull, but the ship kept coming, tendrils lashing out like whips. Ben fired next, his aim shaky but true, and a smaller Craven vessel exploded in a shower of sparks. "Got one," he yelled, pumping a fist. But the victory was short-lived. Dozens more loomed behind it, their numbers overwhelming. Vira's voice crackled over the comms. "They're targeting the ship. I can't hold them off alone." Tom cursed under his breath. They needed a plan. Fast. That's when Leela ran up, her face smeared with grease. "Shields up, but it won't last long. Ethereum's burning too hot." Tom nodded, mind racing. The Craven wanted the ship. Vira's tech, her energy signature. Maybe they could use that. "Vera, draw them away from the colony. Lead them to the debris field." The asteroid belt around Cal 9 was a maze of floating rocks, perfect for an ambush. Vera didn't hesitate. Her ship banked hard, engines screaming as she shot toward the field, a trail of Craven in pursuit. Tom turned to the crew. "Mike, Ben, get the lasers mobile. We're taking the fight to them. Leela, Doc, keep that shield running as long as you can." They moved like a well-oiled machine, despite the fear in their eyes. Mike and Ben strapped the lasers to a rover, bouncing across the uneven terrain, while Tom grabbed a handheld comms unit to coordinate. Vera's ship darted through the debris, weaving between boulders as Craven blasts shattered stone around her. She was fast, but the enemy was relentless, closing the gap. Then came the moment Tom had been waiting for. "Now." He barked into the comms. Mike and Ben opened fire from below, their lasers cutting upward through the field. Two Craven ships collided with rocks mid-chase, erupting in flames, while Vera looped back her own weapons, a pair of pulse cannons Tom had rigged, spitting green fire. The enemy faltered, their formation breaking, and for the first time, Tom saw a crack in their armor. "They're not invincible," he muttered, a grin tugging at his lips. But the Craven adapted fast. The lead ship unleashed a swarm of drones, small, buzzing things with claws and stingers. They swarmed Vera's ship, clawing at its hull, and headed for the colony next. Lila's shield flickered as the drones hammered it, sparks flying. "We're losing power," Doc shouted, frantically adjusting the generator. Tom clenched his fists. They couldn't lose now, not after coming this far. Then he saw it, the Ethereum stockpile, glowing bright in the storage bay. Unstable, dangerous, and maybe their last hope. "Mike, get me a launcher," Tom yelled, sprinting toward the bay. Mike tossed him a mining charge gun, usually used to crack asteroids. Tom loaded it with an Ethereum chunk, the crystal humming dangerously in his hands. He aimed at the drone swarm and fired. The chunk streaked through the air, then detonated in a blinding flash of blue light. The explosion ripped through the drones, scattering them like leaves in a storm, and even rocked the Lid Craven ship. The crew cheered, but Tom's heart sank as he saw the cost. Doc lay sprawled near the shield generator, hit by shrapnel from a drone he'd tried to fend off. "Doc!" Leela screamed, rushing to his side. He coughed, blood staining his lips, but waved her off. "Keep fighting," he rasped, his hand pressing hers. Tom knelt beside him, guilt twisting his gut, but Doc's eyes were fierce. "You got this, Tom. Show him." With a final shudder, Doc went still. Silence fell over the crew, broken only by the distant roar of Vera's ship. Tom stood, jaw tight, and turned back to the battle. "For Doc," he said quietly, and the others nodded. The Craven regrouped, their lead ship bearing down, but the humans weren't done. Vera flew back into position, her voice steady over the comms. "Tom, I'm with you." He looked at the crew, battered, grieving, but unbroken, and felt a surge of pride. They'd lost one of their own, but they'd fight harder for it. The real battle was just beginning. The battlefield above Cal-9 was a chaos of fire and shadow. The Craven lead ship loomed over the asteroid, its tendrils coiling like a predator ready to strike. Smaller vessels darted around it, regrouping after the Ethereum blast that had taken out their drones. Tom stood on the colony platform, his crew battered but defiant beside him. Vera's ship hovered nearby, its green glow dimming as her power reserves dwindled. Doc's loss weighed heavy on them all, but it fueled their resolve. "We end this now," Tom said, his voice steady despite the ache in his chest. "No more running." Mike hefted a mining laser, his knuckles white. "How? That thing's a monster." Tom's eyes flicked to the Ethereum stockpile. Still glowing, still unstable. Then to Vera's ship, its cannons flickering but functional. An idea sparked, wild and desperate, but that's how humans worked best. "Vera," he called over the comms, "can you overload your core? Make it a bomb." Her silence stretched a beat too long. Then she answered, "Yes, but it'll destroy my ship, and me with it." Tom shook his head. "Not if we get you out first." The plan came together fast. Layla and Ben rigged the last of the Ethereum into a crude explosive, wiring it to a launcher. Vera would fly her ship straight at the Craven flagship, set the core to blow, then eject at the last second. The crew would cover her escape with everything they had. "It's insane," Leela muttered, hands trembling as she worked. Tom grinned faintly. "Yeah, that's why it'll work." Vera's voice cut in, calm but firm. "I trust you, Tom. Let's do it." The Craven didn't wait. Their flagship unleashed a barrage of red energy, slamming into the colony's flickering shield. Cracks spiderwebbed across the dome, and Leela shouted, "We've got seconds." Vera gunned her engines, the ship streaking toward the enemy like an arrow. Tom aimed the launcher, firing the Ethereum payload into the swarm of smaller ships. It detonated in a blinding flash, scattering them and buying Vera a window. Her ship closed the gap, the green glow pulsing wildly as she pushed the core past its limits. "Now, Vera," Tom yelled. A hatch on her ship popped open, and she ejected, a silver figure tumbling through the void. Mike and Ben fired their lasers, carving a path through the debris as she drifted toward the colony. The Craven flagship turned, its tendrils lashing at her ship, but it was too late. The core hit critical mass, and a wave of green fire erupted, swallowing the enemy vessel in a deafening roar. The blast rippled outward, shredding the remaining Craven ships in a storm of light and heat. The crew ducked as the shockwave rattled Cal-9, dust raining down around them. When the glow faded, the sky was clear. The Craven were gone, wiped out by a single crazy gamble. Tom sprinted to where Vera had landed, her silver form crumpled but alive. He pulled her up, her amber eyes meeting his. "You're insane," she said, a faint smile tugging at her lips. He laughed, breathless. "You're welcome." The crew gathered around, battered and bruised but grinning. They'd done the impossible, not with firepower, but with guts and ingenuity. As the dust settled, they took stock. The colony was damaged, shields down, half the platform cracked. But it stood. Leela patched the systems while Mike and Ben hauled debris, already joking about their alien barbecue. Vera watched them, her gaze thoughtful. "My people, we never fought like this," she said to Tom. "We had tech, but you have something else." He shrugged, wiping sweat from his brow. "We call it stubbornness. Keeps us going when everything else fails." She tilted her head, curious. "What now?" "My mission was to warn others. But my ship's gone." Tom looked at the stars, the vast unknown stretching out before them. "We rebuild. We explore. Maybe find more of your people." Vira's eyes widened. "You'd do that? For me?" He nodded. "For us. We're in this together now." Her smile grew, a spark of something new lighting her face. "Then I stay. With you." The crew worked through the night, repairing what they could, their laughter echoing in the workshop. But as they slept, a faint signal crackled through the comms, a Lyran frequency, weak and distant. Tom woke to it, staring at the blinking light. Survivors. Another threat? He didn't know, but his pulse quickened. The Craven were beaten, but the galaxy was full of mysteries, and humans never stayed still for long. Days later, a new ship took shape in the colony's bay. Part human scrap, part Lyran tech, patched together with the same wild spirit that had saved them. Vera stood beside Tom as they looked at it, her hand brushing his. "Where to?" she asked. He grinned, eyes on the stars. "Anywhere. Everywhere." The crew climbed aboard, a mix of miners and dreamers, ready for whatever came next. The engine roared, and Cal-9 shrank behind them, a speck in the endless void. They'd faced the dark and won, not just to survive, but to thrive. And that was just the beginning.